They were the protests that brought much of central Hong Kong to a standstill. Now, nearly 5 years later, some of the key leaders in the pro-democracy Occupy movement have been sent to jail. The sentences came after 9 members were found guilty of public nuisance offences earlier this month, charges they all denied. I spoke to BBC's Stephen McDonnell in Hong Kong.
Well, the people who planned this protest movement, which became known as the Umbrella Movement, key figures amongst that group are tonight behind bars. 3 people were given 16-month prison sentences. One of those, though, was suspended. 4 others were given 8-month prison sentences. Another member of the group received 200 hours of community service. And one of the leaders had her matter sort of put to one side because she's had to have emergency brain surgery. But this trial is being watched very closely here in Hong Kong because people will remember those big protests which locked down many parts of Hong Kong, including a key part of the CBD, in a failed attempt to introduce democratic elections. And now this is seen as an attempt, I suppose, to try and dissuade that type of civil disobedience, because a certain type of colonial-era law was chosen to prosecute these people, and critics of the move would say that was a deliberate move to make sure that some sort of serious punishment was inflicted on the leaders of that protest movement.
And Stephen, you mentioned that failed attempt to introduce democratic elections. I mean, looking back 5 years on, what did the Umbrella Movement achieve, if anything?
Well, you know, they lost. So in one way you could say, if its goal was to have democratic elections, a genuine choice from the people of Hong Kong to say who could be their leader, then yeah, it failed. But we heard from those leaders on their way into court today saying that it was about much bigger things than that. That is, they were trying to spread a sort of enthusiasm for democracy amongst the people of Hong Kong, and they would say that it's not over yet. They've said they're not afraid to go to prison, and that when they come out, they think they'll be stronger people ready to invigorate citizens of Hong Kong to go to the barricades again, if you like. However, when you speak to activist groups here, there's a lot of wariness now, not the least of which is you've had trials like this. If people think they could go to jail for merely protesting for, more than a year, that is putting people off. However, there was a big presence at the court today from supporters who cheered these protest leaders on the way in. There were cheers in the courtroom when the judge gave out his verdict. And in the coming months, there are several other protests planned to say that this was not the right thing to do, and also to mark, amongst other things, the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square crackdown. So they would say this is a story with an ending yet to be written.
Stephen McDonnell in Hong Kong.